Hi everyone, welcome to Awkward Author. My name is Alyssa Grasso, and this is my weekly vlog and podcast about my sometimes awkward, always awesome author life. And, I feel like I say this an awful lot, but definitely been more awkward than awesome this week. I also know it is the start of a new month. It is October. Happy October. I do not have an author income report for you yet today. It's October 1st as I am recording this, and haven't gotten around to telling my income for the month of September. So I will have that for you next week. As far as spoilers go, I can promise you it won't be anything exciting because, I didn't sell a whole lot of books. I haven't been doing any marketing of my books at the moment. So, I'm selling just a handful here and there of books, kind of the usual, maybe even a little less than the usual for my author income report. So I will have that for you next week. As far as what's been going on this week, so I have been still working on my work in progress. This is the third book of the trilogy that I've been working on, and I hit a bit of an impasse this week. So, I had written out an outline. Now, I have learned to be a plotter. I guess I'm not really a plotter by nature, but I have found that if I, want to write a book and don't want it to take forever, it certainly helps if I, write things out ahead of time, have not a super detailed outline, but an outline, like a chapter by chapter outline that'll kind of carry me through the book. Otherwise, I do get stuck as I'm working on it. Now, I still got stuck even with my outline. Here's what happened. It's the third book in a trilogy. As I've said before, there's like one character who, goes through all three books. He's a police detective. So, there's other stories and he kind of becomes involved with them. I guess I will say it's not like a straight up police procedural. That's not what, these books are, but, there's his story and then there's the other stories and they kind of intertwine, I guess I'll say. Okay. So he's like the one character that's a constant through all three books. Now, what I wanted to do with the third book, one of my plans was to have a character who is in the first book. A character has a small but significant role in the first book. I wanted to bring that character back in the third book because her story wasn't quite, I think, resolved, at the end of the first book. I mean, it was, but I think there's more to her story, and also I had ideas for how to, work her into the story in the third book. So that was my plan, but I'm dumb. So I had it in my head for some reason that, at the end of the first book that I had left it a certain way with her character. And so when I wrote my outline for my third book, the book I'm working on now, I had it kind of figured that way. And I mean, this is just stupidity on my part. So as I'm working on the book, I kind of hit a bit of an impasse, as I said. So I wanted to go back and read some stuff in the first book. And, long story short is I ended up actually reading through the whole first book, which I have not done yet. So this was like the first time I did that. And the good news is I was like, wow, this is a pretty good book. I mean, it needs some work. It's not perfect or anything yet, but it's got good bones. It's got, it's a pretty solid story, I think. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. I knew that, it was a rough draft, and I was, kind of thinking like, oh, it's going to need a lot of work. It does need work, but it doesn't need probably as much work as I was originally thinking it needs. So that is the good news. The bad news is, as I was reading through, I was like, I left things with that character much differently than I had thought that I did in my head for some reason. And yeah, I could go back and change that in the first book, but I kind of like the way the first book is, as far as that character's story. So I can still bring the character back in the third book, but it's not going to be quite the same way. And I actually have some ideas for how to do it, and I think it's going to work much better than my original plan. But the problem is I've already written, where am I at? I'm 28,000 words on my book, and now I'm there is just so much stuff I have to change because, this one little thing can change so much. But then as I was, thinking about making those changes, I've been thinking about like other changes, and like I know you should just like write it first and then go back and edit, but I'm not entirely happy with certain aspects of the story, and I don't feel like it works too well. There's some things that I really want to change, because at the moment I feel like it's too boring. That's I mean, I know, like, of course I know exactly what's going to happen because I'm writing it, but I think I have to build things up a little better, and I think there has to be a little bit more to the story than what's there right now. So those are my thoughts on it. And last night or yesterday afternoon, whatever it was, I was kind of sitting there looking at it, and it's a mess to me. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this mess. And I'm trying to like jot down notes and figure things out, and like a part of me is just like, I want to like tear it all down and start over, which is crazy when you have like 27,000 words, 20,000 words on a manuscript. I don't think I'm gonna go to quite that extreme, although that's a possibility. No, even if I was gonna say like start all over, obviously there's a lot of stuff that I've written already that I would just kind of pull in to a new document if that was the choice I made. But at the moment I'm leaning towards just reworking what I have, and hopefully getting it to a state where everything fits with how I left things in the first book, and also is to my way of thinking like a good story. It has like a good flow to it, and it doesn't get like bogged down or boring at any point. So anyway, I was going like gangbusters there for a while, really making good progress, but I don't know, I felt as I started thinking about it more, or maybe just like kind of looking at things, that it needs a little something more, I think. And my original plan for the story was it did have that, did have some other elements to it that I guess I tried to simplify things, and maybe I simplified things too much, like to the point where it's like, well, it's not really as strong of a story anymore because of taking out these different elements, which I know I'm being very vague and everything, but I'm not gonna like share the whole plot of the book here, because A, that would be boring, and B, you might want to read it at some point, and well, anyway, so that's where we're at right now. And again, I've written a few books, and so I know when you're in the middle of writing something, it's very easy to convince yourself that what you're writing is just like utter garbage, that this is awful and terrible and stuff like that. And so it's like when I went back and read that first book, I kind of was thinking like, okay, I know the story I wanted to tell. I'm sure the story that I told is nothing like that story. It needs a lot of work, and I mean, it does need work. I'll admit that. It's not perfect at this point, but I am impressed. I actually was pleasantly surprised by how everything came together, and I actually did a pretty decent job with it, I think. Obviously I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I was like, okay, it's not garbage. I'm kind of curious about reading the second book, which already I'm thinking in my head, well, that one I know needs so much work, and it probably doesn't need as much work. Hopefully it doesn't need as much work as I'm thinking it does in my head, but I don't know. But at this point, I'm not gonna, keep going back and rereading things, because I want to move forward with writing the third book, and there isn't too much carryover from the second book. At the very beginning, there's some stuff, but that was still fresh in my mind because I had just written that book. So I have to first of all decide what I'm doing, which I think I've already reached a decision. Like, I just want to add in some other things and then make some changes because of the way I left things with that one character that I'm bringing back. So those are the two main things I have to do, and I think I can work with what I already have. Some stuff is going to get scrapped, some stuff's going to get completely rewritten because it's just not going to make sense anymore, but I don't think I really have to, trash everything and start over. That said, it might be a bit of a, one step forward, two steps back sort of situation as far as like, my word count progress. So I don't know. I'm still shooting for middle of October, but at this point, because I'm kind of not that I've lost my momentum, but there's a little bit of a change in momentum with these changes I'm making. We'll see how well I do with that. Might be more like end of October. But I still think I can at least meet like an end of October goal, maybe middle of October, maybe, but I'm not gonna, just thinking about all the stuff that I have to change and fix and get that sorted, I don't know that it's gonna be, well, I don't know how long it's gonna take me to get get everything straightened out. I mean, I tried actually last night and I was kind of getting overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, I just need to like walk away from this, think about some things a little bit more, and approach it with like a fresh head, which I do feel a little bit better about it, just stepping back and like just taking some time to think over some things, and so I was in a bit of a panic state last night, and now I'm definitely much better. Now I'm like, okay, this can work out and come together and all that. Yeah, I'll be honest, like planning, I'll tell you right now, is not my strong suit, like planning things. I don't know if you are a believer in star signs or what, but I think there is something, to your, I don't want to say personality, but your nature, as far as star signs go. So I'm a Sagittarius. Hello, fellow Sagittarians out there. And if you are a Sagittarius, you were probably like me. You were probably not someone who, likes plans or schedules or things like that. And it just, it can really stress you out, and it doesn't, I don't know. It's difficult for me because I feel like I'm surrounded by people who love plans and schedules, and I come from a family of people who are like such the other end of the spectrum from me in that sense, and it's my whole life I've been like kind of like surrounded by that, and it's a difficult kind of thing. I mean, it's not even like, it's just like we don't even like understand the way we think, I guess, or something. I don't know, like when I think of my parents or even my sister, they're very much like planning type people, and I'm not like that, and so it's like right now my parents are going to be celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. They're actually in they're somewhere between Australia and New Zealand right now. I believe they're on a cruise ship, but they were in Australia, and now they're on their way to New Zealand. So this is kind of their 50th anniversary vacation, I guess. They're with another couple that they know. But anyway, their actual anniversary is in November. They got married right around Thanksgiving, which always makes things, more complicated. And so they want to do this, I don't know if you call it a vacation, not really vacation. Obviously there's nothing relaxing and vacation-y about it, because it's going to be like this stressful thing, and it's like, it's not until November. It's not until like Thanksgiving, like end of November. And like they've been talking about this and trying to like plan this and everything since like the summer, since like early summer, I feel like. And I'm like, people, we need to relax. Like, I can't be thinking about the end of November now. And so it's like to me, it's just like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I don't know. It's just a certain mentality that for me is not, it's just, it doesn't come naturally, and I don't think it's healthy to be like that. Like, just enjoy the moment, enjoy right now. Like, it's September, or well, it's October now, it's October 1st, but like, let's just relax and enjoy now, and then when November gets here, we can worry about that. But no, it's like we gotta be planning this in the summer now, come on. So I mean, I don't even know what I'm gonna be doing in the end of November, but apparently now I gotta be like planning the end of November in September, October, whatever. So it's like a little bit of a, like, I don't know, but it's been like that my whole life, just being around people who are like, have their whole life like scheduled and planned out, and I don't know, it's interesting. It's an interesting sort of mentality, and I don't feel like those people are like any better off or like more organized than what I feel like are, just normal people who like, live their life and don't need to like schedule every bit of it out. But I guess for certain people, maybe that makes them feel less stress or something. I don't see how. Yeah, it's just a weird, I guess, a mentality that I don't entirely understand, and I try my hardest, but it doesn't come naturally to me. And anyway, so I guess this kind of just reminds me of, the book that I'm working on, and, like I thought maybe I had it all figured out, and now maybe it's like, I don't really have it figured out. I don't know, it's just the way things go, and, you gotta be able to go with the flow, roll with the punches. I'm also reminded of, like, I've done quite a few, like, different author events where you talk on a panel, or you do Q&A sessions and stuff like that. And one thing that I think, like, aspiring authors think, or even like non-aspiring authors think, is like that there's a way to do things, and that is like the only way you can do things. Like, you have to plot out your book, or you have to first write a book and then query agents and then get a publishing deal, and I mean, that's one way to do things, but there's always different ways to do things, and to assume that, like, there's a right way, or that the way you do things is the right way is, it's not really the way that it goes. I mean, I'll be honest, like, I am my first 3 books were traditionally published. I did not go about things in a normal way, and, I wrote a book. I wrote my first book, Popular. It wasn't called that at the time, but I had a different name for it. But I wrote this book. It was something I'd been working on for a while. I'd actually started the first draft of it shortly after I graduated high school, and eventually, like, over the years, added to it and eventually finished it. And then I had this completed book, and I didn't really know what to do with it. I was, at the time I worked for a book distributor. I was selling books to libraries, so I think maybe that's how I became aware of, there's a publisher called Llewellyn, which has been around for a long while, which was doing, they do, like, the Witch's Almanac and things to do with astrology and stuff like that. That had been, like, their books, their bread and butter books. But they had started a new imprint that had nothing to do with that. That was just young adult books, and they were looking for manuscripts. Anyone could submit. They had, an open policy. You didn't have to have an agent or anything. So I think that's how I found their website or whatever, maybe through, my book distributor, looking them up for something that, like a book I was selling or something. I don't even remember, but remember it's on their website. I saw that Flux, this new imprint. I was like, hey, I have this book. I'll send it to them. And so I did, and it took a while, but eventually I heard back that they wanted to publish it. So, it wasn't like I, did things the normal way and, submitted to a bunch of places and got an agent and then, I just kind of stumbled upon something, and I guess it was meant to be. But there's different ways to go about doing everything, whether it's writing a book, whether it's submitting a book for publication, getting a publishing deal, whether it's planning a 50th anniversary weekend celebration thing, so everybody has a different way of going about doing things, and there isn't like one right way or one wrong way, but there is what works for you. And I know I say this all the time, but really you have to find something that does work for you, and that might not always be the same thing. I really thought I had things nailed down, with this outline that I created, but I guess I didn't, because as I was working on it, I was finding, this isn't quite it. And so it did take a little bit of extra time, obviously, and it's going to take me a little extra time maybe to write this book, but I think in the end, it'll all be worth it, because I think what I'll have will be a better product, a better finished product. But that's the way it goes, and you just have to kind of go with the flow and roll with the punches, and if that's too much Sagittarius wisdom for you, I do apologize. But anyway, so that's what's going on this week for me author-wise. It was full steam ahead, and then it was, hang on a second here, this is not quite right, and sort of a crisis moment that has now, I guess, basically resolved itself, and I will, get things sorted out and move forward again. But, maybe move a little bit back before I move forward. So, that's the realities, I think, of being an author or doing any kind of creative work. There's always going to be there's always going to be things that you can't plan for, unpredictable things. That might be really anything, not just creative stuff. You just go with it. And while it might seem like a bad thing or a negative thing at the moment, I do think in the long run this is a positive thing, and it'll make my book better and make the series better. And so I'm just kind of actually happy about it and excited to see where it takes me. But anyway, that's enough of my rambling this week. I will be back next week, and I will have my author income report for you, so you can find out all the nitty-gritty details about how much money I am not making being an author, an independently published author in 2019. But I'll share that with you again next week. I do put out new episodes of Awkward Author every week. It's available as both a vlog and a podcast. And if you would like to know more about me and my books, you can visit my website, which is alyssagrosso.com. That's ALISSAGROSSO.com. And so thank you for watching and for listening, and I will catch up with you again next week. I hope you guys all have a great week, I hope that you do not have any setbacks, or if you do, they are good setbacks and setbacks that lead to good things down the road. But I hope it's smooth sailing for all of you. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Take care.